Right now, sugar is so cheap you barely even notice it. A few coins for a whole bag, you throw away more of it than you actually eat. But there was a time when this same white powder could cost ordinary people more than they could afford. Kings protected it like treasure. Colonial empires expanded because of it. So what happened? How did something once this valuable become something we throw in the trash without a second thought? And what you're about to hear will change how you see your kitchen forever. Let's go back almost 10,000 years. Sugarcane wasn't born in Europe. It first grew in New Guinea, where ancient people chewed on its stalks just to taste something sweet. Slowly, the plant traveled through India, through Southeast Asia, through the Middle East, carried along ancient trade routes for centuries. By the time it finally reached Europe, sugar had already crossed empires, cultures, and continents, and Europe had never tasted anything quite like it. They called it white gold. Sugar was so rare, so expensive, that only kings, queens, and the extremely wealthy could ever taste it. It wasn't sold in ordinary markets. It was locked away, guarded, sometimes even sculpted into elaborate shapes just to show off a person's wealth. Think about that for a second. The same white powder sitting in your kitchen right now was once treated like a rare jewel. But then, explorers crossing the Atlantic discovered something that would change the world forever. Sugarcane could grow beautifully in tropical climates, places like the Caribbean, parts of Brazil, warm islands with rich soil and endless sunshine. And the moment this news reached Europe, demand exploded. There was just one massive problem. Growing sugar wasn't simple. It required constant, exhausting labor, cutting, crushing, boiling under extreme heat for months without rest. So European colonial powers made a decision that would shape history forever. Historians estimate that between 1620s and 1850s, millions of enslaved Africans were forced across the Atlantic. Many were forced into the brutal labor of sugar plantations across the Caribbean and Brazil. This system became known as the triangular trade. Ships carrying goods to Africa, enslaved people to the Americas, and sugar back to Europe, round and round for over 2 centuries. This wasn't just farming anymore. This was the economic engine of entire colonial empires. So how far did this go? By 1860, Cuba alone was producing nearly 1/3 of all the sugar in the entire world. European powers fought wars, signed treaties, and built colonies almost entirely around controlling these sugar-producing islands. For nearly 3 centuries, sugar was one of the most valuable commodities on Earth, not because of how it tasted, but because of what it could buy: land, power, and control over global trade. And then, the strangest part of the story began. How did something once reserved for kings become something almost everyone could afford? As sugar production expanded and new machinery was invented, output increased dramatically. And when supply increases that fast, prices fell. What was once a luxury reserved for royalty slowly became something ordinary families could buy. Bakeries started using it, drinks were sweetened with it, factories processed it faster than ever before. By the early 1900s, sugar wasn't rare anymore. It had become completely ordinary. But the story takes one more surprising turn. Food companies realized something powerful. Sugar didn't just taste good on its own, it made almost anything taste better. So they began adding it into products that never needed it before. Bread, sauces, cereal, canned soup, even foods marketed as healthy. Sugar stopped being an ingredient people chose. It became something hidden inside products people never expected. In the United States, people consume far more added sugar than health organizations recommend. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 25 grams a day for most women and 36 grams for men. Most of that sugar isn't sitting in a sugar bowl. It's quietly hidden inside ketchup, salad dressing, flavored yogurt, and thousands of packaged foods and drinks that don't even taste sweet. So think about that for a moment. A substance that colonial empires once fought wars to control, that shaped the fate of millions of enslaved people, is now sitting quietly, almost invisibly, inside thousands of everyday products. Not because it's rare anymore, but because we made it too easy to ignore. The substance that once needed to be protected because it was too valuable eventually became something companies needed to make cheap enough and irresistible enough for everyone to consume. The next time you see that white powder sitting in your kitchen, remember what it once was: a treasure worth protecting, a force that shaped empires, hiding in plain sight in a bag that costs less than a cup of coffee. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden story behind something you see every day, subscribe to Nexora Explains, because the next story we uncover is even bigger.